Today on D&D Academia, we talk about the magic spell, Featherfall. The information on this spell can be found in the Player's Handbook. It is a first-level spell in the School of Transmutation. It is a casting time of 1 reaction and a duration of 1 minute. It has a range of 60 feet. There is no attack or save, and as for the damage or effect, it is considered exploration. As for the components, it does require verbal and material. The example they give for the material component is a small feather or a piece of down. Obviously, feel free to be creative if there is a better aesthetic for your character that you and your DM can agree upon. With this spell, you choose up to 5 falling creatures within range. Now, the interesting part here is that it says creatures and doesn't mention a size category. So, for instance, if there's a large enough creature for all of you to ride on, you could cast Featherfall on that creature, and the rest of you could ride it down. A falling creature's rate of descent slows to 60 feet per round until the spell ends. If the creature lands before the spell ends, it takes no falling damage and can land on its feet, and the spell ends for that creature. Obviously, the most common uses for Featherfall are if you or your companions are jumping off of something, someone you don't want to go splat is falling, either willingly or unconscious, and you're trying to stop them from dying, or possibly using it to traverse between locations. Another thing to remember is that Featherfall works on creatures but not objects, so you can still use weapons, or, if need be, toss something to someone that will fall faster than you are falling. There is a way that you can be a real dick when using this spell. There is no save, which means you could cast this on your enemies or to mess with your fellow players. Perhaps they are jumping down or jumping after you, and depending on what the height is, they may gently float down while you get to spend that time insulting them. Another thing to keep in mind is the spell does state while falling, which does mean that if the fall is great enough and you have enough spell slots, you could technically cast this more than once. You would just have to wait till another round goes by to use it as a reaction, which hopefully you don't hit the ground by that point. Now, here's some real food for thought. If you have more than 5 people that need to be able to fall safely, and you don't have one giant person you can hold on to, would you allow the 6th or more person to hang on to another person of the same size? I think in this scenario it may just come down to rolls. For instance, a dexterity check for the person trying to jump on the other one, and perhaps an athletics check for the person trying to hold that person. Or perhaps the person now falls at 120 feet instead of 60 feet, as their time floating would be cut in half by the additional weight. The assumed falling speed is normally 500 feet per round when no spell is being cast or involved. Or at least that's what it states in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So, hopefully now you have a much better understanding of how Featherfall works and will incorporate it into your game. This has been D&D Academia, and see you on the next episode!